I received, I had called Betsy Johnson to see if I could arrange a tour of her showroom, and she said yes. But she can only accommodate 20. And I'm trying to figure out if we draw lots, and this is only for the registered students of CL 112, not the visitors, not the guests. And you can come to room A639 tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, because we're preparing the list for you to sign. And I don't know what would be the fair way to have 20 out of 90 students. So I think we might draw lots. I don't know. I'll have to work that out till tomorrow morning. But you come at 2 and you'll sign up. Either that or because you'll have a scramble. If I say the first 20 will have an invasion, right? And I won't know what to do. How can I refuse those who can't go? So the date, but that might make a difference for you. The date that she can receive you is April 25th. That's a Friday at 10 a.m. How many of you are free April 25th, Taya? They're all free. I thought that would solve my 20 student problem. But anyway, that's an exciting thing, isn't it? Yes. Let's applaud. You're all excited? Yes. Okay. And we have the information, the address, the floor, and the assistant of Betsy Johnson who will tour you and tell you all about the showroom and the work, etc. It'll be exciting for you. Okay? Yes. And now I have, my love is here, Professor George Simonton. How many of you are in his class? Isn't he exciting and good? You learn from him, yes. And anyway, I'm going to, here it is. I'll have to wear eye shades because you can't see. Oh, the wrong glasses, no wonder. That would help, reading glasses. You see, when you get older, you need reading glasses, you need... Anyway, but it's exciting to get older. I wanted to let you know that.
It is.
You know so much, and you appreciate life and the world, and it's wonderful. Okay, George Simonton is a successful fashion designer in the industry for over 40 years. And he has been a professor here for 21 years. Imagine, is that right? I've got it right, okay. 21 years is a great, great gift to FIT because we don't have many people in the industry who are as talented and with the heart and the love and the soul and the spirit. I could go on forever. He is extraordinary. And this is, as though those of you who are here are privileged to see and hear and talk to him today because he's so diversified and successful in every way. He also has experience in television and theater. He will tell you about that. I'm just touching because I'm dying to get him up here and for me to leave. He's a winner of the Outstanding Designer Award from Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago, Apparel Markets. George's designs have been sought after from all parts of the globe. He has the lead as the master designer in I Don't Have a Thing to Wear on the Learning Channel. He's a member of the Council of Fashion Designers of America, the CFDA, which is like the Oscars for the theater. And he also is a member of the board of directors at FIT Alumni Association, and he received the Rising Star Award from the, what was that, the Designers of America, CFDA? QVC. Oh, that's right, here it is, QVC in little letters. In 2007, QVC gave him the Rising Star Award because he will tell you how many umpteen $million they made on his collection. And please, George, run up here quickly. I want to give you the podium, and please come. okay. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My love.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Professor Papazian. It was very kind of you. You know, when Professor Papazian asked me, I could not say no. It's very difficult to say no to a professor. Before we get started, I brought some of my collection with me today, but before we get started, I just want to let you know you're welcome to take pictures, and I want you to feel free to ask questions. I don't want you to be home tonight saying, gee, I should have asked them that question. But I just want to give a little brief introduction about how I got started in this fascinating business of ours. And Alice is right. I am starting on August 1st. I'm celebrating 43 years on 7th Avenue. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really, and I still love designing. It's absolutely amazing. I still get such a wonderful feeling when I come into my design room and see something coming through the machines that the buyers respond to. There's nothing more rewarding than something that you've created that is accepted by the buyers, because it's almost like they're accepting you. And it's a really wonderful feeling. So for me, it actually started way back in high school. I was very good in art, and my art teachers wanted me to channel my creativity into something that could make a good living. They didn't want me to be a starving artist. I'm relatively thin now, but I was like this when I was your age. I was like skinny. So they wanted me to, they said, George, why don't you investigate FIT? Because you love beautiful clothes, you love watching the old movies, you like, you know, beautiful fabrics and everything. So I did. I applied to FIT, and I'll never forget it. There was a Professor Donnelly. She was a very intimidating woman. She was wearing this Chanel suit, and she had long blonde hair, beautiful hair and makeup was done beautifully. She starts going through my portfolio, and she's very quiet. Then all of a sudden she looks up at me and she says, you know, young man, you have a great understanding for what women want. Yes. I was very, very thrilled about that, because I said, you know, that was really amazing for her to say that. So sure enough, 2 months later, I got my letter of acceptance to FIT, and I was absolutely thrilled. Now, in those days, it was a 2-year college, and we had to pick a specialization. At the end of the 2 years, we had to pick a specialization. And it's interesting that I picked contemporary tailored design. And I've stayed in that particular niche. I've done other things, but I've stayed in that particular niche throughout my whole career, as you'll see today in some of the clothing. And it was really a thrilling time, because that particular year that I graduated in 1965, before any of you were even born, or your parents were even born, there was a woman by the name of Shirley Goodman. Now, you've seen the building on the corner, Shirley Goodman Resource Center. Well, she was one of the women in charge here at FIT. And there was a fashion show. At the end of the semester, we'd always have a fashion show. She picked my garment to be in this big contest that they were having in that year. That year, there was a World's Fair going on right here in New York. Ronnie, do you remember 1965? Well, there was that year, and there was a contest called the New York State Pavilion Contest. She entered my garment into the show, and I was so pleased that I won. And one of the judges was a woman by the name of Happy Rockefeller. You've heard the name Rockefeller, right? Well, she not only picked it to win, but she wanted to buy it. So a little light bulb went off in my head. That's the kind of customer I want to go after. So I did a collection for her, and that very same spring, FIT has a terrific placement office here. I don't know if you realize they have 90% placement of all their students. Not just fashion design, it's merchandising, it's toy design, interior design. So I was sent out with 20 students for this one particular plum job of the semester. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was a very, very famous coat and suit company called Dan Milstein. Now, I went on the interview, I met the owner, I met the salesperson, I met the production people, I met all the people in the back in the sample room. And about 3 weeks later, I got the notice that I was accepted into that company. And I didn't know it at the time, but 2 years ahead of me out of FIT was a young man by the name of Calvin Klein. And it was his very first job. The same woman that hired me hired Calvin. When he came on the scene, she really didn't need him in her particular division, because it was called Danny Junior's, a division of, you know, there's a junior division and there was a Missy division. So she sent him up to the 11th floor, and he was working on the 11th floor with Dan Milstein. I came on the scene, I was only 19 years old, and she said, George, I want to keep you in the junior division. So this woman by the name of Faye Wagner hired me and hired Calvin at the same time. And actually 2 years ahead was Calvin. But it was a terrific learning experience. I'll never forget the day that she wanted me to come. It was August 1st. And she said, George, we need you to start the spring collection. We're going to start the spring collection, so we'd like you to come. And I had all my sketches under my arm, and I'm raring to go. I had all this creative energy. And she said, when I got there, she said, George, we're going to put you in the design room, and you're going to be working under the head pattern maker. Well, my heart sunk, because here I wanted to be designing right away. But you know what? They knew what they were doing. They wanted me to learn all about construction, good fit, all about beautiful fabrics. They wanted me to learn all the inner workings of the company. And then little by little, I started infiltrating my sketches to Faye. Now Faye, in those days, it was called, in the coat and suit industry, it was called a stylist. It really wasn't called a designer. She was the stylist. And I'll never forget her. Faye Wagner was really my mentor. And I always suggest young people to latch on to someone when your first job, get in there and become like that person's right hand. Because when there's budget cuts, you're not the one to be let go. So I got very friendly with Faye. And I used to call her my Jewish Lucille Ball. She was very funny, and she had flaming red hair. And I said, Faye, how did you get started in this business of ours? She says, George, believe it or not, I was a model. I said, Faye, you were a model? And she said, yes, George, I was a model when Broadway was a prairie. So she had a great sense of humor, and I learned so much from her. But she said, George, get into the showroom. Get to know who your customers are. Get to know what they like, what they don't like. She started out as a model, and she worked with a salesperson. And she said, you know what, I can do that. And little by little, they let her do selling. And then she worked her way into styling. So she was a terrific mentor for me. I learned a tremendous amount from her. So 3 years into the company, I started giving her my designs, and she started using them on the collection, and they started to take off. And basically, I was there 6 years. It was very unusual for an entry level to work in a company for 6 years. So, and I said, you know, it's about time that I started branching out on my own. After 6 years, you know, they begin to see you as that person, that entry-level person. So you reach the time you can't grow anymore. So I started being open to going on interviews. And can anyone tell me the best way to find a new job? Can anyone tell me? Yes?
Get an internship.
Internship. Well, they didn't. In those years, they didn't have internships. But what they did have then was connections, like networking. And the best way, I mean, the back of women's wears is great, but headhunters are wonderful, but the best way is networking. And being that I worked in the design room, I met the fabric people, I met the button people, I met the lining people, I met the shoulder pad people. And believe it or not, my first interview for a designer job was through the shoulder pad guy. It was so fun. I'll never forget him. His name was Harold Lapata. It was Majestic Shoulder Pads. They're still in business. And he sent me on an interview for a company called Junior Profile. I went on the interview. They liked me, and I got the job. The hard part was coming back to Faye and telling her I was leaving, because she became, you know, we became very, very close. But she understood that it was time for me to spread my wings a little bit. So she wished me good luck, and we remained friends until the time she died. She was 98 years old when she died. And Calvin, in fact, I'll never forget, I'm the critic liaison here at FIT, and I got Calvin to come as a critic. I called him one day, and he said, George, I really don't have time. But I said, you know what? Faye just passed away. Why don't we have the Calvin Klein Award in honor of Faye Wagner? He said, you got me. So it was a wonderful thing, wonderful experience that I had. So I worked at Junior Profile for about a year. Then I went to a company called Valor, a division of U.S. Industries. And I was sent overseas to do the first junior outerwear line overseas. I was the first to do a junior outerwear line in China. Now everyone, of course, you know, is in China. And while I was there, I met a man by the name of Arnie Foreman. And he wanted me to come and work for his company. And it was called Forecaster Boston. Wonderful company, known for great product, very beautiful fit and everything, but very, very conservative. Not the kind of things that I really want to do, very creative. But you know what? he offered me a lot of money, and I went. You know the old Tom Cruise movie, Show Me the Money? He showed me the money and I went. So, but it was a wonderful experience there because I really learned the production end of it and all of that. But while I was there, I met a woman by the name of Sheila Bannock. She was an editor at Women's Wear Daily. And she was leaving the paper, and she was coming to this end of the business, and the selling end. And she met a woman out of Detroit, Michigan, that wanted to start a company. And the woman wanted to start the company, and it was called Say Simone. Everyone thought it was a division of my company because the last name is Simone, my last name is Simonton, so they thought it was a derivative of my name, but it really wasn't. It was just a coincidence. But this woman, I met her, and she said, you know, George, I'd love to have you freelance for me because I really can't afford you, but would you be willing to take a chance? Now, can anyone tell me why a designer would love to take a chance on a brand new company? Can you tell me why? With a brand new company, you can create your own look. With a company that's established, like Forecaster, I had to fit into their niche. You know, I'll never forget one day, I was racking my brain, being very creative, sketching, and the boss said, what are you knocking yourself out for? Just give me a dumb coat. So I said, well, you know, I don't think a woman gets up in the morning and says she wants to buy a dumb coat. So, I mean, but that was his way of saying that it was really more middle America kind of thing. He didn't need that much style in the garments. So with Say Simone, I was allowed to have the freedom of doing beautiful fabrics, gorgeous fur trims, beautiful buttons and everything. So I was really had great creative freedom. So I started with freelancing, and then after 2 years, the company really started to take off. And she called me one night and she said, you know, George, we got a tiger by the tail here. How about quitting Forecast and come and work to me full time? And sure enough, I did. Sometimes you got to take a step backwards in order to go forward. And I got a tremendous amount of publicity there. Tremendous. The only unfortunate part is that she was still keeping me at my little meager salary. And she was getting very rich. She was getting, you know, all different kinds of Ferrari cars, a home in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, furs and diamonds, and, you know, so, but you know what? I said, lo and behold, I have a lot of faith in the dear Lord. One day in the showroom comes a very dear friend of mine, and my sales manager knows him. His name is Marvin Goldstein. He's about this high, terrific guy, and he comes in with this tall, gorgeous-looking woman, beautifully dressed, you know, obviously very wealthy. And she starts going through, and what do you think all rich women like to do? What do they like to do? Shop. Shop? And do they like to buy wholesale or retail? Wholesale. Wholesale, exactly. So this woman had access to Caroline Herrera, Bill Blass, and Oscar. So she starts going through the rack, and she starts putting the clothes on the table, this over here. So I said to my friend Marvin, I said, where's she going with all these clothes? She heard me, she said, don't worry, darling, I got 3 homes, I want to fill them up. I said, my God, that's my kind of customer, right? It turns out that her and her husband were the co-founders of Weight Watchers. So I had met this woman in the early 80s. So they sold their Weight Watcher business to Heinz Food for $78 million. So I met them already in the 80s, so she was really rocking and rolling in those days. But she was an absolutely wonderful person, and in fact, Professor Papazian knows her. And so, you know, I'm nice, but I'm not stupid. So I got friendly with her, and she invited me to a show, Carolina Herrera show, one day at the Plaza. And that very day, I told her my tale of woe about not getting the salary that I was supposed to get. And she said, you know what, I'm going to introduce you to my husband. That very night, she introduced me to her husband. That very night, he said, how would you like to go into your own business? That was like really amazing because I had already turned 45 and I knew the pitfalls of going into your own business. Some people are made to work for people and some people are made to take a chance. And I felt at that point I was ready because not saying that I knew everything, because you still never know, I still don't know everything. Even though I'm in it 43 years, you got to keep yourself open because there's always new things that are happening in the business. You have to keep yourself open and to keep changing. So we talked for about 6 months. It was kind of on again, off again. Nothing happens that easy. But we decided to bite the bullet. I put in my little $30,000 and he put in his hundreds of thousands of dollars, because to be on 7th Avenue, it's very, very expensive. Just our overhead now is $150,000 a month. Do any of you pay rent? You know how fast that month comes around? So we got to sell a lot of clothes. But we opened up the doors to George Simonton November 1st, 1985. So I've been under my own label since 1985, and I'm very blessed that I'm in every single major store in the country. I'm in Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom's, Lord & Taylor. What other one, Ronnie?
Macy's.
Oh, Macy's, right. Macy's New York and Macy's in Midwest. Bloomingdale's, I forgot Bloomingdale's. So, and also we're in specialty stores throughout the country. So that is very, very important, that you stick to your career and still have a passion for what you do. I absolutely love what I do. And you're seeing something now on the screen that came to me out of the blue 4 years ago. QVC approached me to come on air, and I was very hesitant in the beginning because I've always been in the better market. And I was very curious, and I said, gee, I don't know if it's going to hurt my better business. But it's absolutely amazing, has not hurt my better business. In fact, it has enhanced it. The power of television is incredible. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Karl Lagerfeld for H&M, Stella McCartney for H&M. I just read that Comme des Garçons, Ray Kawakubo from Comme des Garçons is going to do H&M. Roberta Cavalli last year did something for H&M. Isaac Mizrahi did for Target. Vera Wang is doing Kohl's. So there's no stigma to do a high and low line. 7 or 8 years, or maybe even more than that years ago, Halston was let out of Bergdorf Goodman because he did a line for J.C. Penney. But it was, yes, many, do you remember that? Years ago, he was let out of, because they didn't want, Bergdorf did not want anyone that was doing a lower price line. But there's no stigma anymore. It's all about commerce today. And it's interesting, when I do trunk shows across the country with my sales associate, we can't believe about the people that come into these very expensive stores and say, oh, I love your stuff on QVC. We mix it with all the expensive things. So it's really been a wonderful, wonderful career. And the best part about it, really, with me, is sharing my experience and my knowledge with my students. I absolutely adore my students. I came here first as a critic, and I got along so well with the students that the administration asked me, would you be willing to come and teach here? So they wanted to make sure I wasn't a prima donna, so they gave me a Sunday morning class. So I had to wave goodbye to my friend on Saturday night, leaving the Hamptons, and I came to work on Sunday morning, but I absolutely loved it. And I love touching lives. There's nothing greater than at the end of the semester getting wonderful cards and letters thanking me for sharing my experiences and my knowledge with my students, because I share everything with my students, and it's a wonderful feeling to touch lives and to inspire students. So without further ado, what I did, I brought a little collection with me today, just give you a sample of the kind of things that I do. So, and then I will turn it over to a question and answer period. Okay, why don't you come up, my darling ladies. By the way, all my little group that's with me today are all my interns. They were former students of mine, and Tanya and Jenny are modeling for us today. So come on up. I'm going to start off, yes, give them a round of applause. Lior, and also Lior is graduated about, how many years ago, Lior, did you graduate? No, be nice to him. And Lior is going to be a fabulous bridal designer. He just showed his clothes to Kleinfeld, and they got great acceptance, so I'm very proud of him. So what I'm going to show you first is very informal. When you start a collection, you always try to do something that was successful last season. I did this coat. This was in Bloomingdale's fashion book. I did this coat thinking that it was just going to be a fashion statement. I love the design of Nicolas Guestier for Balenciaga. So I was very inspired by doing modern vintage. You know, all of you I know of hitting the vintage stores. So I did this coat I call my bubble coat. You can wear it as a belt or unbelted, and it just flew out of the store. This was in cashmere and wool. That was Bloomingdale's by mail. Now this is my version this year. We do it in a palomino color. This is the fin raccoon. This is bleached fin raccoon. But notice how it's very flattering too. This is something that is not just great for a tall, willowy girl. This is something that will fit everybody. And Ronnie, how much will this be in the store?
That will be probably $800.
$800 in the store. And the workmanship is great. Now this is something that Jenny has on, I'm very proud of. Everyone loves the short sleeves, but are they practical? No. So what I did, I invented something I call my telescope sleeve. From here down is lining, so it's not bulky. So here you got the look of the short sleeve, but yet the practicality of something that's long. The stores are loving this. In fact, the stores love this so much, everyone wanted an exclusive version. Lord & Taylor wants their own version, Bloomingdale's wants their own version. And notice that you do a coat, and it's good sometimes not to do a waistline, because remember, the coat is something that you put over a sweater, over a blouse. And again, not everyone has got a beautiful figure like Jenny. Do you know the average American woman's size?
6.
Yeah, 12. She's about 5'4", 12 top and a 14 bottom. So we have to make the women look as long and thin as possible. Right, Jenny? Turn around. But notice how the details really work. So I put the belt in the back. I have the flap, so it goes in the seam, but then it flaps over to give it interest. And then it has this wonderful little Edwardian collar, and it's in cashmere and wool. And another thing I'm very proud of is the workmanship, hand-bound buttonholes. And this is something I teach my students, actually how to make hand-bound buttonholes. And I don't know if you realize, but the designer John Galliano, Alexander McQueen, all did a stint at Savile Row in London. Before they got their jobs, they learned tailoring, because tailoring is the foundation. If you can do a coat and suit, you can do anything. Now, Tanya has another really terrific one on. This is a cutaway bottom. And right now, this is a catalog for Bloomingdale's, a spring little raincoat that I have with a cutaway bottom. So I did, very well with this, so I said, let's do something for spring with a little cutaway bottom. Also, in the beginning of a season, I always start off with a mood board. Here's a mood board, and I have this thing called like a Russian theme. This is a palace in St. Petersburg, and I have pictures of actresses from the past, Greta Garbo, actresses from the past. I love doing beautiful, glamorous things, but it has to be modern glamour. You have to bring it up to date, and it's very, very important. So I show the buyers the beautiful fabrics we're using, the beautiful trim, and get them inspired. And I was so thrilled. I did this months and months ago, but then I see a Women's Wear Daily with the designer, John Galliano, doing this whole Russian theme. And it's so wonderful to see something that's reconfirmed, that you're thinking you're on the same wavelength as the other designers. Because I really look to Europe for inspiration. Don't believe anyone that tells you they don't look to Europe for inspiration. I see everyone there. Ralph Lauren, they're all there looking at vintage stores, looking in stores, and shopping the fabric mills in Europe, because that's really where it stems from. Now this one here that Tanya is wearing is again a version of my bubble coat. Here I've taken a great black and white plaid and I cut the whole coat on the bias. And again, notice the interesting buttons. I love important buttons, and these have little grosgrain ribbons in them. And again, it fits everybody. It's really universal kind of fit. And that's so important. I tell my students, my design students, I want you to do something very creative, but yet something a human being would wear. Then they get it. I don't want your garments to be hanging in a museum not making any money. I want you to make a good living when you leave FIT. Okay? And then Jenny, but again, it still has to be something glamorous, has to be something of your taste. I love and again, when I keep the treatment, the whole treatment is kept high. This little bib treatment here with the black jet buttons, these are from Austria, and notice the fine stitching. Keep the interest high, and it's very youthful looking. Again, the back has got a terrific deep pleat, and this is Mongolian length. She can wear it with or without. In fact, Nordstrom's is buying this without the fur, because I don't think they're allowed to use fur, right, Ronnie?
They can use, not for advertising.
Not for advertising, they can't use fur. But Nordstrom's, if you get your fashion books come September, they're doing a whole story on me at Nordstrom's. They're doing like a pull-out.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, the October issue? Okay.
The colorway is one of the coats advertised, if I can.
Right, which is wonderful. They don't really usually do that for one designer, but I'm really thrilled about that.
It's never happened.
Just stand up for 1 minute. I want you to give a round of applause to my sales director. Because very important group, design, sales, and production. If you have one missing link, you're in duck soup. No, really, it really starts with an idea. It's not like selling toaster ovens. You know, so Ronnie takes it, if you don't have a good salesperson, you could just sit there and collect dust. So it's design, sales, and then we have a fantastic production team. Very, very important. So if you have one missing link, then you're in duck soup. This is one that Saks and Neiman's is doing. Again, my telescope sleeve, but it's a much more sophisticated version. This is wool and metallic, but it's just enough bling bling on there to make it glamorous. And I call this daytime glamour. This is something she can wear day into evening. She can wear it with jeans. She can wear it, out. But again, the shape on this is really terrific. And I love the silhouette. And very important, the silhouettes are very chic. This is a drop shoulder. In fact, anyone from my class here today? Tomorrow I teach them how to do a drop shoulder. And then everyone said to me, bows are very big, but how do you put a bow on a coat that doesn't look silly? Turn around. So here, I've turned it. A lot of times people just do bows this way, but I made it very soft. I didn't put any interfacing in and just kept it like a little pussycat bow, and I turned it down and just tacked it in place. And it has a little cocoon shape to it. And again, it's different. It gives, because there's not one person here that needs anything. Your closets are probably jammed without even knowing any of you. I know your closets are jammed. But what is the job of the designer? Make them want it. Oh, I gotta have that, I gotta have that. I know I go to Europe, 2 times a year, and I don't need a t-shirt. I have thousands of t-shirts. But if I see a new color or a new treatment, oh, I gotta have that, I love it. And then color is very important too. We do this in black. That's another mention I want to mention to you about color. The best-selling colors in coats, of course, is navy, brown, black. But what's great about our company, we can offer this coat or any of the coats you see. If a store comes in, they want it exclusively in a color. Very important to color, because color is very exciting. And because most of the time you go to the coat store, it's a sea of black. But we can offer the variety of color, and that's very, very important. And notice that the sleeve treatment on here, there's just so much you can do with a sleeve and everything. But here, I've done this wonderful, saddle raglan, which is a comfortable sleeve. And then I have the kick pleat also on the side. Because, again, women need that. They want the comfort. They're getting in and out of a car. They want the practicality. They want it beautiful, but yet they want it comfortable. And it's interesting, you all know what a lookbook is. This year I decided to go back to my roots. I'm so tired of runway shots, so I decided to do a lookbook with sketches. So it's a little bit of a bio first, and then we go into I'm giving you this as a gift. But you see how, you capture the feeling, and the buyers are loving this. They say, oh my God, this is really great. Because, some of them said they won't even frame it. I said, I'm really, really honored. And at the back, we have a little section here with all the little sketches. And Ronnie's idea came up with a wonderful little plaque to give to the buyers. Very, very important that you make your relationship with your buyers. It's so, so important. And you have to make them feel that they're a part of the creative process. Because once they feel they're part of the creative process, then they're very open to buy. Now, Jenny has on a drop torso, which is a very important silhouette right now, too. This whole idea of a drop torso. Again, it's not a silhouette for everyone, but it's something that you have to be aware of what's going on right now. I always like the idea of it looks like suspenders here. And again, it's really, but the top stitching is absolutely incredible. Our production people, I'm so proud of the workmanship that goes into the store, because that's so important that you, when you go around and do trunk shows, if your name is on the label, you have to be very proud of the product. This was inspired by a garment that I saw in Europe, and they had a raglan sleeve on theirs, but I think the set-in sleeve, most women like a set-in sleeve because it's very trimming and very youthful looking, and a nice little short yoke here. I got gorgeous jewel buttons on here. These are real jet, and again, this can be worn with or without. And again, this kind of a garment fits the world.
It's also in the collection style.
Will that be in the catalog too? This is a garment that is in Bloomingdale's right now. This is a little trench coat. And again, it's modern glamour, daytime glamour. She can dress it up or she can dress it down. Very, very important. This is another, Jenny has on a garment. Women love capes, but they don't know what the heck to do with their arms. So I said, what the heck am I going to do to make a cape practical? I put a knit sleeve with it, attached a knit sleeve. So it keeps it nice and warm. And again, it has a cool look too, because look how nice it looks just worn open. You can face them, Jenny. And it looks cool open. And again, it has these pockets that are like peacoat entry pocket. It's a very comfortable thing. The more time you can give women for their cell phone, for their lipstick, their tissues, but then it has this little vest inside. It's young, it's perky. This garment that she's putting on now, that Tanya's putting on, started with my love of Hollywood. I call it the Hollywood wrap coat. And this is in 100% cashmere. And we do this in black, we do this in winter white, and we do it in the really rich camel. It looks like a little bathrobe. It's so cozy and comfortable. We also did it in winter white with Swarovski crystals all here, and I belong to the Alumni Association, the board of directors, and we had our dinner dance and we raised a lot of money, and it was auctioned off and it went for a couple of $1,000. So we were really very happy about that. So some woman was very happy. Thank you, Tanya. Now this coat is really cute because I call this for my lazy customer. Why? Because she doesn't have to button it. The buttons are already done there. And it looks cool open too. And look at the back too. And again, you have to make things that are flattering. Anytime you do this mitered kind of thing, it's very slenderizing, very, very slenderizing. This was picked up by Macy's or Bloomingdale's too. Now, those coats are anywhere from $800 for the fur trim. Sometimes they're $1,200, $1,500. Now, this is a garment I did for QVC. They wanted me to give my couture look at fabulous prices. I was on TV last Monday. I don't know if any of your mothers, your aunts, or your grandmothers watched, but this little garment here, I sold 25,000 units of. Yes, and how long? That's right. They judge you on the time that you sell for $50. So and we sold it in white, fuchsia, and navy. And again, the details on here, look, this doesn't have the hand-bound buttonholes, but it has this wonderful keyhole buttonhole. It's beautiful. It's all fully lined. It's washed. They love the fact that it's washed. Now, who would ever put a coat in the washing machine? But Middle America likes that. And the sleeve inches, very important sleeve inches, because again, if you keep the body simple, but why do they like sleeve inches? No one has fat wrists. So you keep the wrists very small, and you put your great manicure, you put jewelry on, you just give sleeve interest to things. People like sleeve interest. So it's a very good tip to keep the body very simple, and you put your sleeve interest. Now this is a garment that I did last season in black. Now I have it in a salt and pepper tweed. This is how Lord & Taylor photographed it. Very, very glamorous. This was in cashmere, and look how they photographed beautifully with the dogs and everything. So what do? If you did something well last year and it sold, put it in a new color. Put it in a new fabric. because you already have the body. Your production man will love you because it costs $2,000 to put one garment into work. The cost of the pattern maker, the cost of the sample hand. So they love the fact that if you have a body or that's proven and that's sold, definitely milk it. Not for too long, but for a couple of seasons. And comfort is very important. So now I'm going to show you a couple of the QVC things, and also, Suka, hold up the mood board of the first mood board. The mood board, over there. This is a garment from my Better line, a little tailored jacket. And Jenny, in fact, Jenny, all right, put that on first. You put this one on first. This is from my designer collection. And hold up the first, the mood board. Suka, come over here, darling. Come over here, darling, with it. Don't be afraid. Again, this is a mood board with, I'm calling Lady Doll in reference to Lady Diana. And I bought a lot of fabrics from Scotland and England. So I always show the buyers, they love to see mood boards and see where your inspiration comes from. So this little jacket here on Jenny, of course she doesn't have the right bottom on, but it really fits nicely, and it's a very, very pretty little fabric. And it has distressed chiffon on there. You know, you're all familiar with Anne Dulameester and Dres Van Noten. They all started that de-stress kind of thing. But again, it has to be your kind of customer. I have to know who my customer is. She's not going to wear something totally distressed. So here I've just infiltrated a little bit distressed on the trim. And that would be for under Lady Doll. Then, under the haberdashery look, taking menswear and making it into women's wear, I took this beautiful French fabric. Suka's holding up now. I was inspired by this picture Helmut Newton did for Yves Saint Laurent in the 70s, La Smoking, taking a beautiful menswear stripe and putting it into a very feminine shaped garment, because it's very important that you don't have it look too masculine. It has to be still feminine, but using menswear type fabric. And it's a beautiful fabric. Then let's show the next one. You can put the others down. The other category is called geometrics. There were two designers in the 80s called Claude Montana and Terry Mugler, if you know your fashion history. And they were all about wonderful structured kind of geometric looks. So here I use that as my inspiration, and here I've done a wonderful garment just with a touch of leather, the Trapunto leather here. And again, interesting line. It's something that's interesting to make them say, gee, I like that. I'm going to buy that. Now Jenny has on, come forward, Jenny. Put that, you can put those down now. Jenny has on a cute little flyaway swing plaid jacket that I did for QVC. And I said, you know, Burberry does so well with plaids. America loves plaids, but you have to do something that has a little bit of fun to it. So I took the top part, I did it all on the bias, and did the body straight. And then you have a nice little, and this is probably maybe $48. And again, it's amazing. The workmanship here is fantastic on that. And also, I want to show you, oh, by the way, that first jacket that you saw, now, if I did well with it in plaid, see how it looks in solid? Which do you think sold better? The solid, exactly. This did well, but the solid was like universal. You can wear it for over and over and over again. See, this is the difference between buying a frou-frou dress. What happens with a frou-frou dress? Wear it once and then it goes in the closet. This is something you can wear over and over again. And then this is another very pretty fabric too. This is a very beautiful fabric. This is a tartan plaid with a wonderful cabbage rose over, flocked cabbage rose. But notice what I've done with the sleeve. Again, sleeve interest is all on the slant. You've got to get them, if you go to the store, you see all the sleeves first. So if you get their interest with a sleeve interest and you get them to try it on, you got the sale. There's a couple of other garments that I want to show you. This was something that I'm going to be showing next week. In fact, I'm going to be on next Friday. If you're around a television, I'm going to be on 2 o'clock in the afternoon on QVC. I was inspired by the Johnny Depp picture. What was it? Pirates of Caribbean, right? All cotton. And then I did the same fabric in solid. And one thing about QVC, it has to be modern, but yet, which I don't love, but I do it because it sells, what? Elastic in the back. But I keep it really trim. I don't really put it all around, because a lot of times you see elastic, oh, it looks like a paper bag. She's wearing a paper bag. But then again, interest at the bottom, and stretch, the stretch sateen. Here you go. This is the skirt that I'm doing for QVC. Beautiful crushed. And again, the pleats are stitched down. Very important that you stitch down here so you keep it flat. A contour waistband, so it's flattering. And then I have hidden pockets underneath the pleat. And again, but important, I have to put the elastic in. And then they like things that are, hold these. They like things that are loose. You got things that fit the world. This is an ikat in a beautiful dolman sleeve. This will fit the world. Very, very important. And again, easy care. And it's a fabric that's a crinkle, like a little pebble georgette, and it doesn't wrinkle. Women don't like wrinkles on their faces, and they don't like wrinkles on their garments. And what else do I have here? Oh yeah. This I call, talk about Lucille Ball. This is my Lucy in the Sky with diamonds. This was very graphic, and again, QVC, maybe $68. So it shows you how amazing the power of television. That's how people are shopping today. People don't have time, unfortunately, to go to the stores like they used to. The only stores that I see busy is H&M and Zara. You go there, there's always a line waiting, right? There's always a line at the cash register. But we as young people, you as young people have to create more excitement in this business. It's very, very important that you keep it creative, because it's an emotional business. It's not like selling, as I said, toaster ovens. It's something a woman wants to put on her back, and she doesn't need it. No one needs anything today. So you have to create something that, wow, I love that. I really want that. And last but not least, I want to show you a top that I'm very proud of. Now remember, I told you I started with contemporary tailored garments. Here I did a knit. This is a fabric I developed called Milky Knit. This little top, my friends, can I tell you, guess how many units were sold on this in different colors? 55,000 units were sold. And it sold out in record time. It did $18,000 a minute. It was a record. It sold out in record time. Again, come here, Jenny, just hold this. I want to just show them how knits. And I did a princess seam. Most of the time you see a knit top and it doesn't have the princess seam, but it contours the body and it reorders and reorders and reorders. So that's what I wish for you. Lots of reorders. So that's it, my friends. Thank you. Now I thought I'd turn it over to some questions, because I don't want you to be home tonight saying, gee, I should have asked them some questions. Yes?
How do we go about starting our own line? I've actually recently gotten some connections where I might actually have that opportunity. How would I go about doing
Well, are you doing your own backing, or is someone backing you?
Oh, I have backers.
Oh, that's good, because don't use your own money. Make your mistakes on other people's money first. No, really, no. Seriously, some people, sometimes have to work for people in the beginning to get their feet wet and really to learn the ropes. But if you have a collection that someone wants to back already, that's a great thing. But you have to make sure the component parts are there. It's one thing taking an order and getting good orders, but you have to know the follow-up has to be there. It has to fit right. It has to be delivered on time. It has to be done in a timely manner, and it has to be a sell. It has to be something that's saleable. So it's wonderful. Like another thing too, I tell my students, I was very fortunate that not in the beginning. Some people take advantage. They mistake niceness for weakness. A few years ago, some people were trying to steal my name. So I always suggest to my students, get your name registered or the name of your company registered. Because a lot of times you take on a job, you go and work for someone, and they say, we're going to put your name on the label. And that's a wonderful thing. It's a great thing. But then, unfortunately, you're not being taken care of, and you want to leave, and you leave, they can still use your name and label. So a very good tip to get your name registered in Albany. You can do, don't do it sooner than later. Sooner than later. But well, the question was again, how do
How
you...
do you start your own line? Like if I make my pitch and the backers do back me up, where do I go from there?
Well, first of all, you got to have a collection put together. You have people to make it for you. You have someone that's...
Me. Like me.
Okay, well, that's Leo's situation too. He made it himself, and he presented it to client. But you have to know, if you take the order and the store's going to give you an order, you have to make sure that you have the backup of being able to deliver. Because there's nothing worse to take the order and come back to them and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't deliver." Then they don't sometimes give you a second chance.
So what would I need then to find backers to back up, like employees who could help?
Well, yes. Well, no. You don't try to. You can't. Hire too many people. You can't keep the overhead very high in the beginning. If you create the collection, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Then the second thing is, to be on 7th Avenue is very expensive. So I suggest you get a sales rep first, and then start taking in the orders, and then start. You have to start purchasing the fabric. A lot of people think they don't make it a business thing where they cost out the garment. You might not cost out, because remember, there's the zipper, the lining, the label, the hang tag, the poly bag, everything. You have to take everything into consideration. You sit down with someone, that really has a good business head, and that's very, very important to have someone, because, Calvin had a good business person next to him. He had Barry Schwartz. Adrienne Vettadini had her husband. Donna Karen had her husband. You can't always do it all on your own. You need some advice from someone, to be your mentor. But I suggest in the beginning, start small. Get your stuff in the store, and if it checks, then you can really blossom. But I would say keep it controlled in the beginning. If you already have a concept and you have a collection, first thing to do is get a sample line, and then get a person to sell it, and then have the backup of the production. Very, very important. Because you go to the store and you don't deliver, then it doesn't make for a good relationship. There was someone, Rebecca.
Yes, I was wondering that I know we have a lot of designer students. Can you tell them that where do you find when you're stuck when you're designing? Sometimes it's good.
You mean you get a block, a mental block?
Yeah. So can you give them a?
Can I honestly tell you, you should never have a mental block with all the stimulation around you. You're in New York. You have the best stores in the world. You can go online. You can go to the library here. And a lot of you don't take advantage of the library here. You have style. You have style.com. There's a thing, I think they just got a style search too. You have the Doniger report that costs thousands of dollars. When you're not here, they're not going to let you use it. So you have so many things at your disposal to stimulate you. I keep a little book next to my night table at night. If I get an idea, I jot it down. I'm so stimulated. In fact, Ronnie tells me, stop sketching already. I have such a tremendous amount of ideas, and I'm very prolific, because you have to love what you do. I don't think you should ever, if you're young and talented, you never get a block. Someone else had a question. Yes?
Your fabric is obviously an important part of all your designs. When you are looking for fabrics, do you concern yourself about who else might be buying that fabric also? Or how do you get around that?
Well, when it comes to a solid is a solid cashmere. It's what you do with it. But when it comes to a fancy or a plaid, we'll have that exclusively. We'll buy enough of it so that it will not be seen on anyone else's line. And a lot of times, years ago, I used to buy a lot of my fabrics in America. There are no more mills left. Professor Papazing can tell you, she was a fantastic textile designer. We are forced to go to Europe because they're very designer friendly. You can buy 10 yards or 10,000 yards. If I brought that plaid to an American mill, we'll do it for you, but we need 10,000 yards. Whereas Europe is very designer friendly. But fabric is the key. Very, very important is the key. But with a solid, you can design into it. The fancy almost dictates what you don't cut it up a lot. There was a question back there. Someone had a hand up there. Oh yeah, where? Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Every speakers emphasize knowing the customers, and I really want to know how to research or just like customers using one?
Well, before you go on a job interview for a company, it's very important that you go to the store and see what that customer is all about. I mean, I'm not all of a sudden going to wake up in the morning and do a ball gown. You know, I have to, you know, I focus in they're coming to me for contemporary tailor garment, interesting coats, interesting suits, and, you know, that kind of thing. But it's very important, the research of who the customer is. A lot of companies are floundering. Now, one of the biggest giants in the world is Liz Claiborne. And they're floundering right now. They used to have a customer, the career woman, but that woman is not dressing with the matchy-matchy anymore. You know, she's not, you know, with the uptight butch suits. They're gone. You know, everything today is very feminine. It's casual elegance, and that's my particular niche, casual elegance. But it's very important that you do your research on the company. I mean, Betsy Johnson, if you're lucky again, I was able to bring Betsy Johnson a couple of weeks ago here, and I'm very happy that you're going to be taking her up to the showroom. You know what Betsy, if you see a dress and you don't see the label, you know it's Betsy Johnson. You know Anna Sui looks like Anna Sui. Oscar de la Renta looks like Oscar de la Renta. It's very important that you build an identity. I'm hoping that when you look at a garment in the store, you don't have to see a George Simonton label. You say, well, gee, that looks like a George Simonton. You know, that kind of thing. But it is very important to have the identity and do the research before you go on the interview with whatever company you want to work for. Anyone else? Huh? Yes?
Have you ever thought about getting into accessories?
We just talked about, yeah, funny you should mention that. I've been approached to do handbags, scarves, eyeglasses, because what's selling right now fantastically well in Bloomingdale's is menswear and home furnishings. Oh. Menswear and home furnishings. But you got to do it gradually. You have to have it done. If I'm going to do something and I put my label on it, I want to do it right. I want to really research to the nth degree. You know, again, and it has to be something with a little different twist. As you can see, the clothes that I have, I mean, they still have 2 sleeves. They don't have 3 sleeves. But it has to be a classic, but with a different twist. And that's what women are buying. They're looking inside for quality. They want that garment to do a lot of things. So it's very important. But I definitely am going to be open to do accessories and menswear and things like that. Yes.
And what about shoes?
Oh, I would love to do shoes. I think shoes are fabulous. I'm very fortunate, too. All my editors of women's wear know that I teach at FIT, so I get all the great lookbooks. So and I share them with the accessory department. After I work with them, I share them with the accessory department. My students come up to my place, and I give them, you know, fabric swatches, and I give them lookbooks and everything. So it's really, I love it. I love sharing that with them. Anyone else?
George?
Yes, you have a question.
I love the menswear. They should have.
Oh, thank you. We can thank Mr. Armani. This actually, the richest designer in Europe is Giorgio Armani. The richest designer in America is who? Ralph Lauren, right. And you know what his name was? Ralph Lipschitz from the Bronx. He was a poor boy from the Bronx, and he had a vision. He's so smart, he's so clever, he's kept to his signature, but yet every season the stuff looks fresh and new. I mean, if you see his lookbooks, it's like of the highest quality, and he always had a vision too. Like me, loved glamour, loved beauty, and really captures that in his clothes. And it's not stuff that's really wacko stuff. It's something that's still wearable. And that's something that's very important. That's the hardest thing in the world to do, is something that's very creative, but yet say, you know, that's something that has longevity to it. Because I don't like to do toss-away fashion. That's not my thing. And you don't want to just sell 1 or 2, because you're not going to be around too long. There was someone else up there that had their hand up timidly. Yes?
I just thought it was interesting when you mentioned how important it is to make the buyers feel like they're part of the creative process.
Yes.
I wondered if you could elaborate on that relationship.
When they come into the showroom, first of all, years ago the designers were kept in the back room. Now it's important, and Ronnie is a firm believer, I don't want to be the salesperson, but I want to be, with the big stores that come in, they want to feel part of the creative process, because then they have more of a commitment to your product. And so a lot of times they have very good, valid suggestions, because they're on the floor a lot, they're working with their sales associates. And another person to get very friendly with, too, is the people that are on the floor. Because they really know what's selling and what's not. At Christmas time, I bring a little box of Godiva chocolates to them. And they tell me, George, that's selling very well. That's not selling. Stay away from that. That doesn't fit. That color is great. They love that print. They love that, that plaid. But it is, I think, so important to have a rapport, get a personal relationship going to, and have a business relationship, and that there's a mutual respect. Very, very important. And it's unfortunate a lot of times, though, once you start developing that rapport, they get moved to another area. But that's the reality. That's how things happen. But it's very important to get into the showroom. What happens when I sometimes work in the beginning, I show the collection, I show the concepts, and then, of course, then Ronnie takes over and closes the deal. It's up to him to close the deal. Yes, Rebecca?
If I don't mind asking you now, have you thought about like what's going to be on Spring 2009?
I'm working on Spring 2009 right now. And again, it has to be something that's very interesting. I just shopped Europe about 4 weeks ago, so I got some great concepts. There's a store in London called Topshop. Have you ever been to Topshop? Yeah. It's amazing how they change so quickly. The fashions are phenomenal. And I can look at something. Now, I would never just copy verbatim, but if I get inspired, there was one with a great uneven hemline. Remember, Jenny, the one with the uneven hemline? Absolutely sensational. And then you go to Paris and you go to Milan. And that's why I said, when you said before about there's never a mental block. Sometimes I have too many ideas. You know what I mean? So, right, yes. But it's hard. But I'm already working on that. And again, it's going to be about color. The wet look is gone already now. That look is short-lived. But the poplins, the wonderful treatments of shapes, silhouettes and shapes. I think reproportion something. Like you take a classic peacoat, but last year I took a peacoat and I put a skirt on the bottom of it to make it new looking and fresh. And it's amazing what you can do with a garment if you're creative and talented. It's reproportioning something. But people do like classics with a twist. Yes, anybody? Yes.
I just felt you look so passionate. So I just want to know what motivated you like this, the passionate person.
Well, I love beauty. But first of all, when growing up, I was a poor boy in Brooklyn, and my only outlet was go to the movies on Saturday afternoon. I got a quarter to go to the movies after I did my chores. And I'm looking at the screen, and I'm just looking at all this magnificent, beautiful-looking people. The clothes were gorgeous. You don't even ever hear of a woman named Lana Turner, Elizabeth Taylor. No one knows those names. All young people don't know those people anymore. But they were absolutely exquisite, and they were dressed beautifully by people like Jean-Louis, Helen Rose. Who was the other famous one with the glasses? Who was the designer? The woman that designed for many people in... Edith Head, yes, Ronnie's right. Edith Head was fantastic if you look at your film, your history, and you're so lucky to have FIT here. There's so many, I wish I could get there more often to look it up the archives, but yet you have to make it modern. And that's what keeps me going, love of beauty. I would not be the person to sell life insurance. This is something that I have a passion for and love. You have to love it because, can I tell you, there are days that are not so good. The days when you're in the office and the buyer calls and there's a snowstorm and nothing's selling. Right? Isn't that an awful feeling? But then there's days that Ronnie will come in and say, George, guess what? We just sold 3 of those because they just hit the floor and they're selling. That is what's so rewarding about our business because they're accepting something of you, a part of you. And I just absolutely love it. I'm doing, as I said, I'm doing it 43 years. So I must be doing something right. Because, to stay on 7th Avenue is tough. And again, you meet the best and you meet the worst. One night I came in with my class at 9 o'clock at night because I had a night class and I took them in and I had a partner that was stealing from me. Stuff was going out the back door. So you know how that makes you feel? Not nice. Not nice. But you survive and you live through that and you learn. You learn from every experience. And you don't always get what you want when you first come out. Like I didn't want to become an assistant to a pattern maker, but you know what? It turned out to be a good thing because I know construction and I know good fit. I don't just sketch and give it to somebody. I'm very hands-on and I'm very aware about proportion. Alice walked by me and I said, Alice, you're missing a button. So listen, I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope you follow your dreams, and God bless all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you.
You are something.
Well, I speak.
I knew you
You
were
know what you get. You get what you see, what you get.
I want that.
Which one?
Yeah.
We both?
I want to go buy coats right now.
You're kidding.
I was at
Usually,
yesterday at Saks. I found nothing like that.
well, that's what Ronnie told the people at Saks. Your coat department looks terrible. So she just, there's a new buyer, Rachel Brill. She bought 20 styles.
Your mic is on.
Oh, thank you. She bought 20 styles. Oh, thank you.
Really? Do you have a lot of...
Oh, wasn't that the greatest? I think we need another applause for the whole team. Because this is what fashion is all about, the real world, the real world.
This will be the
Thank you.